What if you discovered a secret that will keep you young forever? Would you take it? Let us find out in Ruth's story. In the village of Zuka, everyone knew Ruth. She looked as young as a 30-year-old woman. But guess what? Ruth was actually 72 years old. Her skin was smooth and glowing, her eyes bright and lively. Her beauty was undeniable, and she moved with the grace of someone much younger. She even looked more beautiful than those who were actually 30. Everyone born the same year as Ruth was now old, yet Ruth remained young and beautiful. The villagers often whispered among themselves, wondering how she managed to stay so youthful. Every time Ruth walked through the market, heads turned and conversations hushed. Mothers admired her, fathers were curious, and young girls were jealous of her ageless beauty. Many theories floated around the village about Ruth's youthful appearance. Some believed she had a secret potion. Maybe she drinks a special herbal tea every morning, one woman speculated. Others thought it was her diet. She must be eating magical fruits, another suggested. Some villagers believed that Ruth's garden held the key to her secret. They thought she grew special herbs and vegetables that kept her young. But what kind of herbs and vegetables could actually keep a 72-year-old woman looking as young as 30? The villagers continued to wonder and speculate, keeping their distance and their questions to themselves. Among all the villagers was a young, handsome man named Jude, a particularly curious one at that. Jude was determined to uncover Ruth's secret. He watched her closely, trying to find clues that might reveal the mystery of her ageless beauty. He thought to himself, how can a 72-year-old woman look 30 and even more beautiful and youthful than any actual 30-year-old woman in the village? There must be a secret to Ruth's beauty, and I must find it out. One day, Jude decided he could no longer contain his curiosity. He resolved to discover the truth about Ruth, no matter what it took. Jude shared his plan with his best friend, Jide, and they decided to work together to uncover her secrets. They watched Ruth's every move, trying to find out what kept her young. One night, Jude and Jide decided to follow Ruth secretly. They waited until the village was asleep, then followed her into the forest. They saw her walk down a hidden path that led to a cave. Inside the cave, Jude and Jide saw a glowing pool of water. They watched as Ruth performed a ritual at the pool, dipping her hand into the water and chanting softly. As they watched, Ruth became even younger than she had been before entering the cave. The next day, Jude confronted Ruth. I know your secret, he said. That glowing pool in the cave is what has been keeping you young all these years. I know everything. Realizing she had been discovered, Ruth decided to tell them the truth. She explained that the glowing pool was a magical spring, gifted to her by a magician years ago. Ruth begged Jude and Jide not to disclose her secret to anyone. If anyone else discovers it, I'll lose my youthfulness, become old, and then disappear. I'm not ready to grow old yet, she pleaded. Dear reader, do you think Ruth is being greedy? How can someone who has been living for 72 years but looks 30 still not be ready to age? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Well, let's keep listening to the story. Ruth desperately begged Jude and Jide not to expose her secrets. Jude, please, if you tell anyone, I'll become old and die, she pleaded. Jude and Jide, feeling a weight of the responsibility, promised to keep her secret. Besides, they didn't want to be the reason for someone's death, and so they decided to keep Ruth's secret to themselves and Ruth continued to be the youngest and most beautiful woman in the village of Zuka. But guess what? Tragedy is about to strike. One day, the village king's wife walked up to him and said, "My husband, I really want to find out the secret to Ruth's ever-young beauty. I want to look young forever too. You are the king of this village. You should be able to do something. If you don't, I'm going to leave this marriage." How can you be a king and not know the secret to your subjects' beauty and eternal youth? The king, who wasn't ready to lose his dear wife, decided to offer a huge reward for anyone who could reveal why Ruth never aged. The reward was a large sum of money that could change someone's life. Jude heard about the reward, but he was torn between his promise to Ruth and the temptation of the money. He knew the reward could help his family, but he also understood the consequences of exposing Ruth's secrets. The thought of the reward kept nagging at him. He imagined all the things he could do for his family and himself with that money. The temptation became too strong to resist. Jude decided to betray Ruth. He went to the king and told him everything about the glowing spring in the cave where Ruth's secret was hidden. The king was astonished and immediately announced the discovery to the villagers. The villagers rushed to the forest and found the hidden cave. They saw the glowing pool and realized the truth behind Ruth's youth. Ruth stood by the pool, heartbroken, as the villagers watched. As they stared, Ruth suddenly began to turn into an old woman. Her youthful face was fading. She gave Jude a sad look and shouted, "I trusted you." Then she disappeared into the thin air, leaving nothing behind but the glowing pool. The king's wife, who was eager to stay young forever, rushed to get close to the pool, hoping to use its power just as Ruth had. But before she could reach it, the glowing pool dried up. Since Ruth, the original owner of the pool's magic, was no longer alive, the magic could not pass on to anyone else. The villagers were left in shock after witnessing Ruth's tragic disappearance. They regretted their curiosity and greed. The magical spring had dried up, and its power was lost forever. Jude, overwhelmed by guilt and shame, refused to collect the reward the king had promised. He lived with that guilt for the rest of his life. Dear viewer, do you think Jude was right or wrong for exposing Ruth's secrets? If you came across something like Ruth's magical glowing spring, a chance to stay young forever, would you take it? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for listening to this story. The moral of the story is that curiosity and greed can lead to betrayal and loss. Trust is precious, and breaking it can have severe consequences. Jude learned that the value of a promise is greater than any reward, and the price of betrayal is often too high to bear. Secondly, nothing lasts forever. Ruth believed she would stay young forever, thinking no one would ever discover her secrets. But in the end, her secret was revealed, and she paid the price. Thank you so much for watching this story. I hope you were entertained. If you haven't subscribed yet, please support my growth by clicking that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so that when I post more interesting stories, you'll be the first to see them. Thank you so much. I do not take your time for granted. See you in my next video. Bye bye.